Good evening, everyone. This is Mike, and I don't know if you can hear the music in the background. I have a nice jazz album playing by a group called Steps Ahead on vinyl, and very, very nice, smooth jazz music for a perfect summer Sunday evening. It's about 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the evening, and I wanted to make a response to the weekly video chat that James put up just a few days ago. And interesting topics, one of which I suggested. So I will definitely talk about that one. Okay, the first topic, actually I don't have much to say about the first topic, which is about region codes. Honestly, it's not something I've ever given a lot of thought to. I don't have an all-region player. I've never bought a DVD on eBay or anywhere that I couldn't play because it wasn't the right region code. And I guess I would have to go along with people who say that there should be some kind of uniformity throughout the world. I can think of two DVDs right now that I'd love to have that I know are available in the United Kingdom, but they're not yet available here. So yeah, it's kind of frustrating, but I guess I'm willing to be patient. So for me, it's not that big of a concern. Okay, so sorry, can't expound on that one very much. The second topic is about intros to videos, and obviously I don't have one, and it's not because I don't like them or I think they take up too much time. It's because I don't know how to make one. I don't have the knowledge about editing or anything like that to insert photographs or film clips inside my videos to make them a little more interesting. I just don't know how to do it. I would like to learn how to do it. I like the intros that most people have. I think they're a lot of fun. It gives the filmmaker an identity, and not that people who just sit in front of the camera like I'm doing now and start talking don't have an identity. I don't have an either or feeling about it. I like what people do when they just switch on the camera and start expressing themselves. That's wonderful. But for me personally, I enjoy the intros when people do them. I enjoy when they do something creative, and I don't know, it kind of gives you something different to look at. And of course, there are a lot of people who have an intro, they don't always use them, and that's fine too. I would like to learn how to do it, but yeah, it's not something that get the intro over with so I can listen to you talk. I like what people offer. Everybody has something different to offer, and everybody has a different way of expressing themselves, and it's all worthwhile. So, okay. Third topic, which, as James told you, was an idea of mine. It's about black and white films and color films. And my approach to this is not black and white versus color films, or which is better, because I don't think that one is better than the other. The reason why I wanted to ask this question and find out what people in the community think about this is because I work with a lot of people who are much younger than me, people from their 20s up until their early 40s, and we talk about movies a lot. And whenever I bring up some of the old classics, Casablanca, things like that, and all the films of Bette Davis in the 1930s and 40s, I've had so many people say to me that they will not sit down and watch anything if it's in black and white. They just won't do it. They won't even consider it. And it just freaks me out when I hear this. I try to tell people, well, if you do that, you're missing something like 70% of the history of cinema. And I'm throwing that number out there without knowing if that's actually true, but I know there's just a huge part of the history of movies from every country in the world where black and white is where everything started. And if people ignore that just because they don't have color, they're missing so much. They're missing so much that they probably could enjoy and come to appreciate and love the way all of us do. And I don't know, I find it kind of frustrating. When I ask people to expound on that comment, invariably they tell me, well, life is in color. Life is not in black and white, and a film should reflect the reality of life. To which I always respond, if they want to listen, a film is not life. A film exists, a film is created by someone as a way of telling you something about life, to show you a part of life, an idea of life that you may not have considered before, that you may not have been faced with. So a film can be a dreamlike fantasy, a character study, a psychological thriller, that's something you just don't see in life every day. I mean, if you want to see life, look at reality TV. I guess that's life. I'm not sure. And you know how exciting most of those are. And I don't know, these people seem to feel the same way, of course, about black and white television. And in a way, I understand that part of it because, well, I understand all of it, really. Because people who are young and they've grown up where everything on TV and almost all the movies that they see have been in color. So that's what they've come to expect. That's their experience. My experience has been quite different because when I grew up, and here I am talking about being the old guy again, but it's true. I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and it was the norm for most Hollywood films and foreign films as well to be in black and white. Of course, there were also color films as well, but we didn't think at the time that it was just, oh my God, we're really being deprived here because this movie's in black and white. We accepted it as being normal. I don't remember anybody ever complaining about going to a theater and seeing a big budget Hollywood film in black and white and then just being upset and thinking, oh my God, it's not in color, I'm walking out. Up until, as David Koenig said in his response to this chat, up until the very late 60s, it was perfectly normal for big budget, important Hollywood films to be released in black and white. And I think that began to change in the late 60s, and certainly in the blockbuster era starting in the mid-70s, we saw color almost all the time. There are very few filmmakers from that era on who have continued to work in black and white. One that I can think of who occasionally makes a film in black and white is Woody Allen. Films like Shadows and Fog, Stardust Memories, Celebrity, he still works with black and white, and I find that very interesting. In my experience growing up with television, in my family, my parents did not get a color television until the year 1968, and which is really kind of late for a lot of people, but I was 17 years old, so I grew up, I had that whole, span of time growing up where it was normal for me, and I never felt deprived at seeing everything on television in black and white. When I went to other people's homes, I don't remember seeing color TV. It's very, very seldom. Most people just had black and white. So that means that when my family and I sat down every year to watch The Wizard of Oz, which we always did, we saw it in black and white. When Dorothy opened the door to the Land of Oz, she was opening up to a black and white world. And yet, I guess I knew that it was supposed to be in color if we would have had a color TV. But I never felt like obviously I was missing something, but I never felt like I was just suffering because I didn't see it in color. Our imaginations came into play, and it was still a wonderful fantasy. It still had a great effect on us. And I was talking to my sister today about this, about black and white TV, and when we first started seeing things in color and all that. She made an interesting comment, because we used to sit there, she's 3 years older than me, we used to sit there and watch The Wizard of Oz every year. And then she said that the film was a lot more scary in black and white. When the Land of Oz and the Wicked Witch and all that, when it was still in black and white, with all the shadows and all that, it was a lot scarier than it was when it was in color. I had never thought about it that way, but that's an interesting comment. So yeah, that was my experience, and I can't say that I have a bias in favor of black and white, but I do like it, and I kind of seek it out whenever I can find it, certainly because I love the old classic films and all that, but it's not to say that I don't appreciate films that are in color. I certainly do. But every once in a while, I watch a film that's in color, and I find myself thinking, that would have been very effective, perhaps just as effective, if it had been made in black and white. And I know that's second-guessing the filmmaker, and that's not fair, but it is kind of the way I feel sometimes. And I'd like to give you two examples, and one of them is a horror film called The Others. I'm not sure when this came out, sometime in the 2000s, I guess, I'm not sure. It's Nicole Kidman. This is a very unique horror film for the modern age, because I haven't watched it for a while, but if I remember correctly, there's no violence or almost no violence, no blood splattering on the screen, and it's very much done with atmosphere and great dialogue, and it's got a very good story. And I did not figure out the surprise before the ending. So yeah, I thought it was a very good story. But when I watched this, and I look at the great atmosphere they created, the art direction and the sets were wonderful. I found myself thinking that it reminded me of one of the old gothic horror films from the older days, the 50s and 60s, and I thought that it would have been amazingly beautiful if it were in black and white. But that's just my opinion. And another one I thought about, this is Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation, a marvelous film that came out in, I believe it was 1974. And this is done in a very kind of, I guess, a muted or understated color. He almost makes the color in this movie look like it's black and white. It is so I don't know, filtered or something. Or I don't know how they did it. I'd like to find out, but it just has a dreamlike quality to it that would almost work perfectly as a black and white film. But I can't say that I'm you know, that I think they made a mistake. I think it's very creative the way they did it, the way that they made it look as moody and as unreal as they did in color. I thought that was very creative, very yeah, very well done. And as far as, here's a director who knows how to make fantastic films in black and white and in color as well, okay, and knows how to create a mood. This is David Lynch, and the film I'm talking about that is in black and white is Eraserhead, which it is so incredibly wonderful, and I can't imagine this ever being in color. That would be absurd. But and yet the same director many years later did this film, Mulholland Drive, which is one of my favorites of all time. And this has beautiful bright color, right? Interesting sets and all that, and yet the mood that he creates in this, it just he has a way of doing it that I don't know, it just reminds me of all those genius directors in the 40s who created the beautiful film noirs with all the shadows and all that creepy kind of constantly tense atmosphere, and he was able to do it by using color, and that's pretty amazing. So anyway, okay, that's my speech about color in black and white, and I'm interested in hearing what everybody else has to say, and I appreciate people who are open to both black and white and color. Okay, so that's enough. I'll stop. The last topic is what is the last topic? Wait a minute, hang on. Subtitles. Okay. Well, when I watch a foreign film, an Italian film or a French film, part of the experience is to hear the language. I love hearing the foreign language, even though I know very few words in Italian, almost nothing in French. I'd probably do a little bit better in Spanish if they would just slow down. But I like hearing the language, and that is part of the joy of watching a film like that. However, I'm a little frustrated when I have to take my eyes off the imagery and the faces and the action on the screen so that I can read what's underneath. I do find that frustrating, but I'm not willing to sacrifice hearing the authentic language in order to get that. It just means you have to move your eyes up and down quite a bit and work a little bit harder. But I do like subtitles, films with subtitles. As far as films that are dubbed, it depends. Some are done well, some are not. I found that a film that's in the German language, if it's dubbed into English, the syntax of both languages are a little bit, I'm not even sure if that's the right word, but the languages are close enough in the way words are formed and the way they're spoken that you can almost dub a German film into English and have it be synchronized. I don't know why that is, but I found that to be true in some of the German films that I've seen. When you go from one of the Romance languages like French or Italian to English, it's very difficult to do it. I mean, it takes, that's why they usually change the dialogue. They have to make it look like the mouths of the people are speaking English words. Or otherwise it comes off a little bit crazy. But yeah, so I guess that's all I have to say about subtitles. One point I do want to make, I happen to know that, and I'm sure a lot of you know this as well, that in Italian filmmaking of the 60s and perhaps before that as well, when they would use international casts, people from English-speaking countries, other countries, people who did not speak Italian, what they would do, they would have people, if you had an Italian person and an English person or an American doing a scene together, they would deliver their lines in their own languages in the same scene, right? And there would be no recording done on the set. And then later on they would dub in all the voices. So that's kind of interesting. If you have somebody in an Italian film who is really speaking English and they want to dub it into English later on, then it's very easy to make the words match the mouth. So I don't know if they still do that. I would like to find out. It's kind of interesting. So yeah, it's a mixed bag. I like subtitles, but I would there have been dubbed films that I've enjoyed over the years that I think they do a pretty good job. So okay, I guess that's all I have to say. And James, thanks again for your midweek chat, and I look forward to hearing everybody else's responses. Okay, good night.